episode 188. My name is Dave, and I'm joined by Michael.
How's it going, Dave? We're a little late today because I was like, in my head, I was like, I did the show notes, and in reality, I just didn't have time today. So, Dave got to see me do show notes in like 5 minutes in terms of just like news stories popped in.
Was I supposed to pay attention during that time? I was putzing on my phone.
Of course you were. But you noticed that it was empty, and then suddenly it was filled.
Yes, from the time that you told me I'm doing show notes now till where you joined the call. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that streams on Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and posts on podcast services 6 a.m. Eastern on Thursdays, pretty much every week. So, if you're listening to us already, you've figured out a way to find us. Please consider subscribing, following us on social medias, as well as just joining our community through Discord, Facebook, and Twitter. All that stuff is linked in the show notes, and you can check it out there. We do live stream on Twitch, like I mentioned, twitch.tv/digitaldaysgaming, where we are a Twitch affiliate, so you can use the subscription on us if you choose. If you link your Twitch account and your Amazon account, if you have one, you have Prime Gaming, where you get a bunch of free cosmetic stuff in games typically, as well as a subscription, a free sub monthly that you can use on a streamer of your choice. If that choice is us, awesome, and thank you. Just make sure you check it every month and renew it. You can do that whether we're live or we're not live. And as always, following and sharing the show is free and is always helpful. And with that, we're going to jump into some news.
Yeah, so we got a little bit of news. It feels like the most random week of news. Nothing major, but a lot of just weird stuff. The first one being Rockstar announced Red Dead Redemption 1 is coming to Switch and PS4 next week. So a couple weeks ago, Rockstar kind of filed some new trademarks on their website. They also tweaked how they were saying Red Dead Redemption. It was Rockstar Presents Red Dead Redemption. So I got a lot of people excited that a remaster or remake must be coming. And instead what we got is Rockstar announcing for $50 they are porting Red Dead to the PS4 and Switch. This is the most basic definition of a port. Like, there's no bells and whistles on this. This is the last gen, the PS3 360 version of this game, including the DLC coming next week. So quick turnaround time from announcement to release. And of course, it's not going to include any of the multiplayer. They want you to play Red Dead multiplayer, Red Dead Online. So there's no multiplayer in this release, which makes it just even weirder that it's a $50 thing. Dave, before anyone asks, where's the Xbox version?
I think people don't know how to read.
Yeah, the Xbox version came out several years ago. It came out during the Xbox One because the Xbox...
Welcome to Smart Delivery, still lingering and working.
Yeah, so over on Xbox for $30, you could get Red Dead Redemption and Undead Nightmares, typically, sometimes even cheaper. I think I picked it up at one point for $10,
$7 I've seen, yeah.
Yeah, so Xbox doesn't need it, and also Xbox technically re-released a physical version of this game with those weird, Xbox One 360 boxes, if you remember. But again, at least on the Xbox, again, this is when people accuse us of being, biased towards Xbox. On the Xbox, there's at least the auto HDR stuff, which isn't perfect, but also the resolution's a little bit better because they tweaked it through backwards compatibility, and it runs steady. We don't know how this is going to run, but as far as we know, this is the most bare bones port coming to PS4 and Switch.
Red Dead Redemption 1 was kind of like their focal point of backwards compatibility when they started rolling out the big backwards compatibility in Xbox One days, when they were in full damage control of, hey, we know our Xbox One games suck, but did you know you can play all these 360 games? And this was one of the focal points of that years ago, and it's only gotten better on the series just because it's just a smoother piece of hardware.
The only thing they haven't added is unlocked frame rate, which is something that might just be a Rockstar thing. But
didn't they do something similar with this on the Switch with GTA? Where they made it like the trilogy available on the Switch and didn't do anything other than it worked on the Switch just recently within the last year.
Well, they put out that garbage port on Xbox, Switch, and PlayStation.
That's right.
The trilogy.
But that garbage port was top 5 NPD.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it was like top 5 MPD for like 2 months before it just completely fell off.
This will be top 5 MPD for August.
Yeah, sadly, I think it probably will be. $50 does leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. But I think this will be one of those scenarios where it probably will sell really well on the Switch, because this could be a lot of Nintendo's players' first time with this game. You hope it can run well. The Grand Theft Auto trilogy, less complicated games ran poorly. So we'll see.
It's more likely somebody my age or a little older, so in their early to mid 40s, that sees this or somehow finds out about this and is looking at it. If they have like kind of like moved on from video games to where they maybe only play like Mario Kart, like as at like a family game night or a gathering with friends or something like that they have over like on a weekend, that it's very likely that they have a Switch, and if they have any desire to play Red Dead Redemption again, they'll just pick it up here and play it on their Switch, because the likelihood of, well, realistically they probably have a PS4, but it's probably not plugged in anymore. It might not even be connected to the internet, just because people buy a box, play it for 6 months, and kind of move on with their lives. I think that again, in somebody in my age range, more than likely has a child as well, and if there's a child, there's probably a Switch in the house. And so I mean, yes, is this very lazy by Rockstar and Take-Two? Yeah. Is it going to sell? Yep. And,
probably.
And it's just going to prove their point. If you don't like this, don't buy it. But unfortunately, this is going to be trending on Twitter probably when it first comes out, or you go to Twitch. The first couple days it comes out, it'll probably be a top 10 thing streamed on Twitch.
Yeah, it'll come and go. I think relatively quickly, but that time in the spotlight is going to probably lead to a lot of sales for it.
Yeah, it'll be like it'll be August 15th until August 25th, and then it just won't be talked about. But those 10 days will, I don't know, is 1 million units crazy to say?
No, I don't think so. Like it's a big IP. They're gonna release it physically in October, I believe, is what they said. So it'll get another wind of sales around the holidays. Of like,
it's gonna be $20 in November. Like at Target.
Yeah. By Black Friday sales, it'll probably drop down temporarily. But overall, man, I was super bummed. Like, I was excited to see like the announcement, and then when I got the details, I was like, shit. I was at least hoping.
Rockstar seems to be like a one-function pony at the moment. Like, they're just on GTA 6. That's all they're doing.
You know what's crazy is, like, I feel like Rockstar should be getting the shame like an EA used to get, but they don't.
If EA did this with Mass Effect, we would destroy them.
Yeah. And remember how, like, brutal people used to be to EA? Deservedly so.
Yeah.
But it seems like Rockstar, like, this sucks, and people have called it out for sucking, but it seems like no one like holds their feet to the fire in terms of calling Rockstar out consistently. It's just like, okay. I heard a lot of people saying like, oh, hey, I mean, this is clearly happening because they're just all hands on deck on GTA 6. And it's just like, yeah, of course. But like, should we give them
That's not an excuse.
That
Don't
out?
Do it.
Yeah.
Like,
especially if this comes out and it's crap. Like
this is 100% a money grab.
Yeah. Especially the CEO came out today and being like, yeah, that's what the market says the game is. It's a $50 game.
He's not wrong.
Like, yeah, the people will buy it, but should it be a $50 game? No. Will people buy it at $50? Yes. Even if and I'm more curious about the Switch version of this. The PS4 is going to run it fine. Like, the 360 version, on the Xbox One ran fantastic. So I imagine the PS4 version, especially on backwards compatibility on a PS5, is probably going to run pretty well, but it's not going to have the bells and whistles you would want for this. So I
agree with you. People are going to buy this. They're going to play it for a day or two and be like, this sucks. like this is clunky.
Yeah, it's either this is clunky, or they're going to be like, oh, this is great, but I don't see myself playing all 50 hours on the Switch, or they'll do a run of it on handheld mode for a little bit, and then that's it, and they'll be done with it. At least they included the DLC, I guess. They didn't include the multiplayer, but the DLC's in there. Undead Nightmare. But we'll see. Maybe I'll pick this up around Christmas if it's cheap enough.
Are the multiplayer servers still active on PS3 and 360?
Yes, but they had to kill the GameSpy stuff, which handled all the like leaderboards and matchmaking. So it's still running on 360 and PS3. It's just missing some of those features for ranks and stuff. And people are still playing it. I think last year I dusted it off just to test it out on Xbox, and people were still online. Used
to be a big Extra Life staple 10 years ago too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but that is what's going on with Red Dead. I'm very disappointed, especially if you consider like, I think technically, Red Dead, like most of that map is in Red Dead 2.
Is it? So I don't play these games, so.
But the idea that like a good chunk of the map is like literally playable in the second one, which means that groundwork is done. But whatever. The next story we have, this was exciting, and then it got less exciting, and then I think today people are more like annoyed. But Street Fighter 6 is getting or has already received Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles content. So during EVO, it was announced that full turtle costumes, gear, and emotes would be coming to Street Fighter 6 this week. While these aren't like full characters, it's basically you can set up your Street Fighter character in full turtle gear. So, all 4 turtles are technically in the game. They're just wearing like costumes. I think this was a missed opportunity for them to do like the movie costume. So if you're going to have the characters in the suits, they should have made them look more like that, but whatever. Apparently if you want all this content, it's roughly like $100.
Yeah. I think I saw something today without, and I might get the term wrong, without a fight coin or battle coin, they're like $24 a suit.
Yes. Something like that. It's kind of crazy. It's like $15 to $20, because of that, because you have to buy coins and then use the coins, so the conversion rate's a little off. They look cool. Like when I was watching EVO and when they first announced it, I was like kind of excited. One, because I think it's kind of crazy how much Turtles content there is the last like couple years. Like they're kind of pimping these Turtles out in terms of where were they in Justice like 2-3 years ago? They were in Nickelodeon All Stars. I think they are either in Fortnite or Brawlhalla.
Brawlhalla,
I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So they.
We've gotten 2 Turtle games. We got in that Konami collection. I think it's Konami. And then we've gotten the Shredder's Revenge from Eidos, as well as the movie that just came out, and then the rights too. So like they're definitely like front and center. And I think that in terms of them being front and center, I think it's obviously being successful. I haven't heard or seen any numbers for the Ninja Turtles Mutants in Manhattan movie, but it doesn't sound like it did bad.
No, so Mutants in Manhattan or whatever, the only thing going against it is Barbie and Oppenheimer came out a week before.
Yeah.
So I think it opened to number 4 this past weekend, but still made like a decent amount of money for its opening week, and it's probably gonna have long legs.
Yeah, for sure. Like you'll see it in the top 5 for like 6 weeks, probably, depending on what comes out.
Yeah, and I think the summer's pretty much over, so it's just gonna be a matter of like whenever Barbie gives up, and that doesn't look like that's gonna happen anytime soon. Turtles should do fine. I still want to see the Turtles movie. I just haven't had time.
Yeah, I intend to take Owen. Yeah, like I do want to take Owen. We just haven't had a chance yet. So.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I'm glad about this content. The Turtles stuff looked cool. I probably won't be picking up Street Fighter or spending $100 to get all this stuff. But hopefully there'll be a good sale later on. Cause I don't think this is a limited time sort of event, but it shows Street Fighter's at least like opening up. Street Fighter doesn't usually do like outside partnerships for Street Fighter, at least.
Yeah, I just think that Capcom's realizing that they need to live in this games as a service world, and then I think that they've seen the success of Monster Hunter's interesting tie-ins, and Monster Hunter had a Street Fighter tie-in, which obviously is the same IP, or same company or same corporation, but I think that this is an easy way to get them all press is good press. So this is an easy way to get people talking about Street Fighter 6 and I guess I should maybe go buy it, download it or whatever and see if I like this turtle stuff. And if they buy it, great. If they don't, I mean, they still signed into the game and started playing again.
Yeah, this definitely is a partnership that you can see it working out for both. Like, hey, there's a movie out right now for Turtles, and hey, Street Fighter coming off EVO already is going to have a bunch of momentum of people like, oh, I saw EVO and there's a new Street Fighter, but then also they're like, oh, I like Turtles.
Just kind of makes sense because the Ninja Turtles fight, and it's a fighting game. Like it just it just works.
I wonder though, based on this partnership, if the Turtles could have been characters, or if there's some sort of deal with Injustice of like, hey, we got them actual playable in our fighting game, and the only way around that was like, what if they're just in costumes?
Mm-hmm.
But that's me theorizing why we didn't just get full playable Turtles in this.
I just think it'll be funny to see like Chun-Li dressed as Donatello do her upside down kick or whatever.
Yeah. I can't wait to see all the videos of everything people are doing in the costumes. But we'll move on from that. Dave, would it surprise you if I said Square Enix isn't happy with the game's sales that just released?
It would surprise me. Like that,
it would, right?
It's not really. That's not really what Square does. Like Square's always happy with whatever. One sale is enough.
Yeah, it's just what, they're just about the art, But yeah, so Square Enix CEO basically said that during a financial conference call, said Final Fantasy 16 didn't reach high-end expectations. It met expectations, but it didn't surpass them and hit their high-end expectations. So they were a little disappointed with how the game sold. This caused the stock price for Square Enix in Japan to drop 15%. Which is funny because all he had to say was the game sold well and met expectations and probably would have saved that stock price.
Mm-hmm.
But they took a big hit.
How has this guy not been ousted yet?
I think this was the new one.
Oh, okay.
I think this might have been the new one, which is just kind of hilarious. Yeah, so that price drop was like the lowest in 3 years, like that share drop. And it's just confusing because when a game came out a month ago, they were touting like, hey, this game sold 3 million copies its first week. This is fantastic. And when you take into account there's only about 38 million, 40 million PS4s out there, that's like a 10% attach rate, technically, right? Or a little under 10.
8.5, like a high attach rate. Like, yeah. Anything I think people have talked about, experts have said like non-Nintendo attach rates.
It's like 3 to 5%.
Yeah, like anything above 5 is like phenomenal. So like I guess the hand in hand thing was this this release moved hardware. Like this coming out got people to buy PS5s. So it moved hardware, which increased a hardware number for Sony. So the only thing I can think of is that Sony and Capcom, Sony and Square Enix had or Square Enix had a goal of an attach rate. Now, the initial attach rate goal they might have hit. However, then Sony came out with their console numbers recently, and I think they even said 40 million like this week, and that moves your attach rate number down. So
yeah, but it's a goalpost that keep moving,
right?
And they just weren't happy with that current standing, which is just kind of bizarre. I mean, I would imagine Final Fantasy 16 is going to have long legs in terms of it's going to sell throughout the year, and it'll probably be fine. But Square Enix is notorious.
I just don't understand where the win comes from saying this stuff. Like, obviously, we saw the stock price go down, but like when I'm sure, I assume, and I could be wrong, that Sony helped with the marketing as a console exclusive. It was featured on State of Plays. It was featured at PlayStation showcases. Like, so there is an investment on Sony's end into it as well as some front loading money. And does Sony just ultimately care that it helped them sell more boxes, or does Sony care that it was selling how many units it was selling? Because I I don't know what Square really expected, to your point of you have maybe close to 40 million consoles in the market, and
especially when the game came out.
Right. So maybe it was like 35 million when the game came out, and then you increase that number when the game came out, obviously. And then what is your expectation? 10 million? Like, there's no way. You can't get a 25%. If you got a 25% attach rate, every single person that produced Final Fantasy 16 should be able to direct their own studio. If they released a game with a 25% console attach rate.
Well, I'll credit Video Games Chronicles for this because they put some numbers. Final Fantasy VII Remake's launch managed 3.5 million copies in 10 days with the PS4 launch base, which was at that point
like over 100 mil, probably.
Yeah. Like over 100 mil, probably less than 150, somewhere in between there. Sorry, my cat is trying to knock my lamp down. So the idea that like they were only 0.5, like half a mil difference is just with Final Fantasy VII Remake.
70% less boxes out there. Yeah.
And they were fine with how that sold. It just, I don't know if this is just like new CEO president just not liking, the previous regime stuff, because this when you make this sort of announcement in a earnings call, this is going to hurt your share price. Like, you don't have to be this honest.
That's like what win does Square have by saying this? Like, I don't get it. Like, it's just you and I talking. Oh, Square again. Like hey, it's like, you're super pretty, but I can't date you because your hair parts to the right instead of to the left.
Yeah, no, it's going into a job interview and being like, yeah, I don't really like working. You don't need to say that. And
how many lunches do I get?
Yeah, you just talk about like PTO with your first question. This is just bizarre because I feel like the president could have just reiterated like, oh, hey, we sold 3 million, because we're only like a month.
Don't even say a figure. Our partnership with Sony and our console exclusivity is strong. We really like the direction we're going.
I mean, it was an earnings call, so the number was going to be there somewhere.
Okay.
But you don't have to tout like this didn't reach our expectations. You could have just been like, hey.
But at the same time, like, what's the expectation? Like,
that's the problem. Is like,
right? Did you want it to sell 4.2 million and it sold 4.1? Did you want it to sell 7 million and it sold 4 million? Like I don't like.
There's so many ways
like moving the goalpost.
Yeah. You could have been like, hey, we've since the launch a month and a half ago sold 4 million units, and there's only 40 million consoles out there. It's a 10% attach rate, and then you could have pitched that better. Of like, we wish we sold more, but there's just not enough consoles in the market to sell more. You could have blamed Sony. Yeah, 100%. If you wanted to complain about it, you could have just blamed the market. But this game will sell well continuously. It's not like it's going to be the end of Final Fantasy. The game will continue. People are going to buy it. It'll probably go on sale relatively soon. And it's probably going to end up like, hearing that Final Fantasy VII Remake didn't like set the world on fire is bizarre to me, but they also messed up the marketing on that whole thing.
Yeah, it took a long time to come out. At least, 16, from knowing its existence to release date, I felt it was within a good time frame, within an accurate time frame of announcement to release.
Especially when it's announced pre-pandemic, so it's just like, hey, you give them some leave on release.
Do we know, like, is this a 1-year exclusivity? This has got to come to PC, right?
I believe they've been really cagey about it, in terms of like, they said they would love to bring it to PC, but there's no like expectation. Okay. But I guarantee it's going to come to PC.
Well, especially if it's not selling on PS5.
Yeah, and because of what happened at FanFest, there's a chance it could come to Xbox too, depending on the deal Sony signed with them.
Right.
Because I don't think it's like, if Square has full rights to put this game where they want, they'll probably go more than just on PC. And Phil Spencer is trying so hard to get a foothold in that market that he probably would just be like, yeah, I'll eat some of the development costs on my end, just to say I brought this game to our platform. Because Phil Spencer sometimes can feel a little desperate with some of that stuff, so I could see him eating some costs on that for Xbox. But we'll see what happens with that. did NPDs? I'm curious. Hold on. Sorry, Dave. I'm gonna derail this real quick. July NPDs. They're no longer called NPD.
I think we saw something. I thought I saw.
I just want to see where Final Fantasy is in there because that came out in June, right?
Yeah, like June, like mid to late June, I think.
See, I don't think. So 16. So I don't think July's numbers have come out yet, but 16 in June was the second highest selling game.
Behind what, Hogwarts or?
Diablo 4 came out in June.
Oh, that's
so
right.
Remember, they came out like a week apart. So the top 3 for June was Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 16, Street Fighter 6. Number 4 was Tears of the Kingdom, and number 5 was Hogwarts. So the fact that it sold 3 million in that like pretty packed lineup of like competing against Diablo, competing against Street Fighter, it did pretty well.
Yeah.
And Jedi Survivors in there too. I think that was number 7, which came out.
And they only had like 12 days or something like that. Yeah, because they came out like the 16th or the 18th of the month or something.
So they really should have been touting those numbers instead of taking the stock hit of being like, it just didn't do well.
I don't get it.
Or it didn't hit our expectations. Is fucking Square, man. Like they're just wild to me how they publicly will just be like, yeah, this isn't working as well as we thought. But Dave, you know what else? You know what is actually working? Baldur's Gate 3. So this game launched on Steam officially. It was in early access, but it had its official launch this past weekend, and it is the second biggest launch in 2023. It had over 800 concurrent players, which is just behind Hogwarts Legacy, which was around
800,000 concurrent players.
800,000 concurrent players, and Hogwarts Legacy had, I think, like 900,000 concurrent players. The funny thing is, according to the CEO, he told his like tech team to just kind of expect maybe 100K concurrent players, and surprisingly, their servers held up.
I'll say I didn't hear anything about terrible connections or getting kicked or not being able to play.
So they had low expectations and they crushed it. And Baldur's Gate 3 is kind of giving me Witcher 3 vibes in terms of like, hey, here's a franchise that's known but not super popular that suddenly just explodes and is the talk of the town. Baldur's Gate 3, Dave, I don't know if I couldn't turn Twitter on, and yes, I still call it Twitter, without seeing someone playing Baldur's Gate 3 or, showing off their character and random cutscenes.
It's always super fascinating to me. This happened, ironically enough, circling back, this happened with Red Dead Redemption 2. Sometimes it happens with GTA, but there are people like on my social circles, particularly more on Facebook, that start talking about video games coming out that I had no idea even played games when something like this comes out. So it's super interesting just to see who plays this. Like, yeah, you always see the people that you kind of like, oh, I didn't know you played games. Like, oh, you play NBA 2K. Okay, cool. Like you play it, but yeah, I see you tweet about a video game or talk about a video game on Facebook for a week or 10 days and then you move on. And there are not a lot, but enough people like that I was like, interesting. Like, I knew you played games like when we went to high school and stuff like that, but I didn't know you still played games. But to be fair, like maybe that was the last game they played.
Yeah, there was some people that were picking this game up, and I'm just like, this really isn't going to be your game. I mean, you were considering it, but like I know you enough to be like, this is not going to be your type of game.
Yeah.
So I've been seeing.
I haven't watched any streams or anything on it either to see. But there's even conversation in our Discord channel about it of people like waiting for it. And the 1 month break between this and PlayStation is kind of weird. And then whatever the hell's going on with it with Xbox, like whether the S can run it or can't run it, like I don't know. I'm not saying I can. I just think it's just,
no, it can't.
Yeah,
like literally, they came out and said the co-op cannot run on a Series S, and Xbox won't let us release it without the co-op on a Series S. It needs to have the same features, so they're gonna just keep working on it and hope they can figure it out.
So that's all just like super odd and weird to me, but I think it's awesome. I didn't know BioWare made this game, like originally made Baldur's Gate 1 and 2.
The original, yeah,
and then it sounds like this other studio did like a fantastic job with this, obviously. And
because I think Larian is some ex-BioWare people.
Yeah, it's just awesome to see. Like I love seeing 100,000 people play the game. or I mean,
yeah, 800.
Yeah, 800,000 people playing a game, 800,000 people playing a game at the same time. Like so, like this thing is out.
Yeah, on Steam.
Yeah, this thing is out like a week, and it's probably easily double that units sold, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 150K plus in the first couple of days, like that's awesome. Like, and I think it's fantastic to see whether, you know, if this is introducing more people to video games again as well. If they're D&D fans that are used to playing the D&D like in-person board games, and they're getting accustomed to video games and realizing they can play with their friends and learning how to use Discord or all that stuff, I think that's great. Like, and this stuff is always cool, and anything that can bring people together in any way, like, I'm for. And this is fascinating and awesome to see.
The crazy thing is, Baldur's Gate 3 passed Spider-Man 2 this past like weekend on the PlayStation Store for pre-orders. So like people are really excited with this game coming to PlayStation next month. So this game's gonna sell like crazy. Again, I feel like we're at our Witcher moment for like what it was for CD Projekt Red. Like Larian Studio might end up being like a household name after this game. But there are reports too that they're like, oh, we don't know if we could do a Baldur's Gate 4 because of the D&D license for it, or just the license in general. So the studio might have to either drop big money to be able to do a sequel, which they should technically have that money now if they're going to be like potentially beating Spider-Man, or they're going to have to hope their next original game
from the makers of Baldur's Gate 3, something else. You know, like
exactly. So. And this is just a fucking crazy story just to see. I mean, it's great to see like a studio like this just kind of catch fire, especially in a year that's kind of stacked against them. You know, at the beginning of the year, you had Hogwarts Legacy, you had Zelda with Tears of the Kingdom. You know, I mean, Final Fantasy 16 just released last month or 2 months ago. You have Spider-Man coming out. It's like actually quite a big year. I feel like it's been like 2 or 3 years since we had like.
Yeah, it's kind of just started like Memorial Day, and it's been kind of like the snowballs like getting bigger and bigger. We had a little bit of a weaker beginning of the year, but it's definitely accelerating and speeding up, and it's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, and this game's just going to get an even bigger boost when Starfield comes out, because you're going to have a lot of PlayStation players that are going to be looking for something to play because they can't play Starfield, and they're going to be like, fuck it, let me pick up Baldur's Gate.
I think it comes out 3 days before Starfield.
I think so. Yeah. So it's like good counter programming on their end of just like, hey, there's an open spot. And
Sony just backdoors into a odd console exclusive.
Pretty much, yeah. They're probably like high-fiving the Xbox engineers that made the Series S as weak as it is. But that means this game will potentially have a third wind when they finally do figure it out on the Xbox and then release that.
And I again, everybody can roll their eyes and yawn or you know, slap their head or whatever. But if they figure this out in 6 or 8 months and it comes out on Xbox, I bet you Spencer figures out a way to get it on Game Pass, even if it's only for like 3 months.
Oh no, yeah, totally. Like this probably will end up hitting Game Pass after maybe they'll let it go a month without hitting Game Pass or something, depending on how confident they are. But yeah, this could be this. That would probably work out for them because Starfield's going to bring a lot of people in to Game Pass, into that Game Pass ecosystem, and then just move them on there. So that's all I got for news. Is just, you know, Baldur's Gate is fucking killing it right now.
Yeah,
and Square Enix is lost.
It's so cool to see. Like I like the resurgence, not even a resurgence, but just the rising of Diablo and Baldur, like games like Diablo and games like Baldur's Gate. It's just kind of cool again to see the people like talking about things and playing games, and or people that, you know, over the last couple of years as video games have lines of genres of video games have blurred, where people are like, I can't play Diablo, it's a turn-based thing. Like, well, you played this, so you can play that. You know, like, and then just
it's a dungeon crawling RPG. I'm not into that. And then they get into it and they're like, oh, Baldur's Gate's a dungeon crawling RPG. And it kind of snowballs, and now this is probably going to open up people to whole different genres of stuff that they weren't too into. So good on Larian Studios. now look forward to what they do next. I don't know if I'll pick up this game, but I'm definitely going to be interested when they start figuring out their next game. Because this could be a special studio, which is always nice to see.
All right.
But that's... Dave.
Yep.
I forgot. Devolver delayed like 5 games.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I missed that.
They did a host showcase for...
did they do a delay showcase?
Yes, they did. They did a delayed showcase on Monday. Here is everything that Devolver delayed. Okay, so the Plucky Squire has been delayed to 2024.
I was about to say, was it ever dated?
Yes,
was it always
it
just...
did have a 2023,
but not a date.
No, just a year. Sorry, I'm pulling everything up. Skate Story, which also just had like a year or second half thing, that was delayed. Angerfoot was delayed, which is, I vaguely remember that game. Pepper Grinder and Stick It to the Stick Man were also all delayed to 2024. So yeah, they just put out like a whole like fake Nintendo Direct. It was like 5 minutes of them just being like, hey, this game's delayed, this game's delayed, this game's delayed. So Devolver Digital, being Devolver Digital. I'm bummed seeing the Squire looked really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
And Skate Story looked trippy. But those are next year games, and honestly, based on what we just talked about in games,
it's probably the best thing
year,
for them. So.
Yeah, just get out
those
of the way.
Those all sound like great
these.
January, February, March games. They all sound like great.
Yeah, they will probably do even better, getting away from the big games coming or already out.
All right, so that is what was delayed. So what we're planning on watching, I think it might be short for both of us, just because I know Michael's had a rough work week and I've had a rough. A week that I will discuss now. So we recorded last week on Tuesday, and as many of you know, I play softball, and I had a playoff game on Wednesday. I have recently, in the last year or so, tried to stop playing outfield, and moved down to like first base. Big, tall guy, left-handed, easy to play first base. And I started to wear shorts when I play softball now instead of pants. I used to actually like wear like baseball pants and stuff like that. Part of the reason that I started to wear shorts was I did not want to slide anymore, because I was getting tired of, scraping up my knees and scraping up my legs
tall,
and stuff.
So it's a long way down.
Yeah. Excuse me. So inevitably, Wednesday I slid into third base. So again, I'm left-handed, so I stick my left leg out straight. I take my right leg and I tuck it underneath my left leg. So I almost put my right foot underneath my kneecap, in the bend of your knee, and I slide. And I scraped up just a thin scrape of my right calf. Pretty bad. It didn't bleed or anything like that, but it was pretty bad. Poured a bunch of water on it while we were playing and kept playing. I was fine. Like, I kept telling people it hurt, but I'm not hurt.
Was it like just raw or just burnt feeling?
Yeah, just scraped. Yeah, kind of just the scrape. Significantly large, but not terrible. But anyway, went to work on Thursday, went to work on Friday, and I was fine walking around. Just it hurt if my jeans hit my brushed against my leg or whatever. It hurt. I did peroxide it like when I got home one time, which apparently peroxide's like not the greatest thing for you anymore.
Don't tell me that, Dave. Anytime I get any cut, I'm just like,
you should do it once, pretty much one time, and that's about it. Because I guess it kills more healthy things than it kills as many healthy things as dead things.
I'm just saying,
I cleaned it once.
Cut.
Yes, I cleaned it once, but like 20 years ago, my mom would have peroxided my cut like every day. Those are fine. And then Friday, Angel's like, "Hey, your ankle's kind of swelling," and I was like, "All right, whatever." I was like, I had a long day at work, and the next morning it kind of went down a little bit. And then we were doing some things. We were out and about on Saturday. And she's like, kind of keeps looking at my ankle. She's like, "That's getting worse." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I agree." I was like, "But I'm not in any kind of pain." So she's like, "Nah, we need to go to urgent care." I'm like, "For what?" I'm like, "I'm not in any kind of pain." She's like, "Yeah, but it's red and it's swelling." And she's like, "And it's getting bigger." And I was like, "What am I gonna tell him?" I'm in no pain. And then that I just have a poofy ankle. So we go to urgent care. So she wins that argument, of course. We go to urgent care, and the nurse practitioner's like, yeah, I'm not touching that. Like, that might be a blood clot. And I'm like, awesome. Thanks. So
urgent care is like the best and worst thing for
Yeah.
guys like us who are just like, just fucking we'll see what happens tomorrow.
So anyway, I don't want to draw it out too. So I'm fine. I do not have a blood clot. I do not have any broken bones. I do not have any foreign objects in there. I have something that's called cellulitis, which is an infection inside your skin. I'm on an antibiotic for it. I can, I saw my primary care doctor today, and he's like, I was like, hey, like, this is what's going on. He's like, okay, it looks better than your picture you showed me. And so it's like things are getting a little better. And I was like, do I have any restrictions? And he's like, are you in any pain? And I'm like, no. And he's like, okay, well, I was like, can I still play ball? And he's like, well, you can't slide. Like, that's pretty much what he told me. Like, or he's like, I think he first said, use your other, like, the slide. I'm like, I did. So
can you like Babe Ruth it and hit the ball and just like have someone just row?
Oh, I can just be smart and not try to make a double into a triple or a single into a double, or
Okay.
So, but I mean, that's kind of just like how I play anyways. I like to have fun, and I can still, 40 years old, I can still move. But anyway,
Pete Rose it.
It's definitely been a little bit tiresome, and just a little bit of pain, and the medication kind of makes me feel a little funky sometimes. So but overall, like, I'm okay. I did get a chance to randomly watch some movies with my daughter, just basic stuff. Like, for some reason I watched a couple sports movies with her. I watched Draft Day with her with Kevin Costner. I watched For Love of the Game with Kevin Costner. Just like a chill Sunday afternoon. She was home, I was home.
Kevin Costner.
Yeah, it's just kind of just happened. Like, we were looking at stuff, and she's like, I haven't seen that. I was like, you haven't seen that? And yeah, so we just that was just me kind of laying on the couch with my leg elevated, because she didn't want me to Angela didn't want me to do any more damage or anything to it. But that did, kind of consume a couple of days of me. So yeah, I'm waiting
Hold on. So Matt says, glad you're safe. Pun, safe. But the question is, were you safe?
I was.
Did you?
Yes,
okay,
yeah.
all right. That's the important thing. If you said you got out, I'd be like, you fucked up your knee and got out.
Yeah. No, I was safe. So.
Did you end up scoring? And
I did, but we lost.
Okay.
So we scored, but we lost the game.
If you fucked up your knee and then the next batter didn't get you, to home, then you give that person shit of like, I messed up my knee, and you didn't even give me the point.
Yeah. So there is a picture on Twitter and Facebook, if you are that, of like my ankle a little more swollen than my right leg, a little more swollen than my left leg. It's not graphic.
If you're gonna put ankle and feet pics up on the internet, you need to put them to Patreon.
It's from the knee down though, so it's really like
okay. So you're saving
and I have
picture.
I have shoes on, like, so.
Okay, cool. So I'm just saying, don't throw money out on the internet.
For the record, I have Hey Dudes on, and you can watch the right side Hey Dude like start to like expand more than the left foot.
Okay. I was gonna say, Dave, don't put feet pics out on the internet for free.
But yeah, so for the most part, I am looking forward to Atlas Fallen this weekend, hopefully. It does sound like that I'm going down to Kentucky to move my daughter into the dorm. I thought I wasn't going to have to do that, but apparently I need to go down and help her with that as well. So there is an opportunity with Atlas Fallen being out for me to test it on my ROG, as well as I still have Metroid Prime Remastered that I have not started yet, so I can take that with my Switch if Owen doesn't take the Switch when he goes to Grandma's for the weekend. I don't know what that's going to happen with that. So, but yeah, that's kind of like, I for some reason I thought Atlas Fallen came out yesterday, but I guess it doesn't come out till Friday. So that's that sand surfing RPG that I'm kind of interested in to see. Hopefully that's good, and I have some fun with that. So that's kind of my immediate plans. I do have a question for you, because it was here and there was a lot of chatter around it. And I don't know if you watched it or not, and this might tie into it. The perception locally for SummerSlam was not good.
It was okay.
It was at Ford Field where the Lions play in Detroit.
Yeah.
Angela was like, Michael didn't come, and I was like, I think he just did the Vegas thing, so I don't think he had a choice.
Yeah, and also I refused to pay, like, anytime they do wrestling in a football stadium, I feel like that is like the worst experience you can have, because you're so far away from.
I had a couple people on my Facebook feed that were like, looked like they had some pretty good seats, but it also, looking on the ticket market, it sounds like some of those seats were going for like $4,000.
Yeah, yeah. Like if I'm gonna pay $300 to sit in like the nosebleeds to watch basically two people wrestle on the NFL logo that's usually in the middle of that field.
You'll pay $90 for the pay-per-view and sit at home with your own drinks and everything.
Yeah. It's on Peacock for $5.
Oh, okay.
So
all right, I just dated myself. I swear pay-per-views were like $60 or $80 at one point in time.
They used to be.
Yeah.
They used to be $60 or $100 if you're watching the big ones like WrestleMania, SummerSlam. They just basically dragged their stories for another probably 3 months.
Sounds like the Ronda Rousey thing was awful.
I felt bad for them because they were actually trying to put on a good show, but at that point, it's 3 hours into the show, the crowd didn't give a shit. The crowd was just kind of done. Because it's the problem is with the WWE shows is they do like 4 or 5 hour shows.
Yeah.
And they lose the audience like halfway through the show because like there's only so many concession stand like food you can have and you can sit in your seat for so long before you just are like, okay, I just want to go home. But yeah, SummerSlam, it was okay. SummerSlam's supposed to be, like the second tier in terms of like WrestleMania's number 1, SummerSlam's number 2, and like big shows. And they just didn't really do anything but like continue to run in place. So SummerSlam, kind of whatever. It looked like the arena was cool, how they set everything up. It's always interesting to see how they set up like a football field or a baseball
55,000 people in there. And I think for like football games, it holds like 65. So it wasn't, I don't know if it was sold out, but
not quite. Cause they had like a stage set up,
so
that eats up some seats and like a whole section gets eaten up. But yeah, no, I did not, it was an okay show. I watched most of it. I kind of watched, cause AEW has a Saturday show. So I had one screen with AEW, one screen for SummerSlam, and then just kind of moved on from there. But yeah, anything else? Did you watch or play?
No.
Okay. I'll go next. Matt does ask, like, how's the AEW game? Matt, the AEW game, I kind of forgot about it already. Like, it was kind of interesting for the, 2-3 weeks that I played it, and then I just kind of fell off of it because there isn't much content there.
You reviewed that with Chris, right? You and Chris kind of went... Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I gave that a full review with Chris...
Early July.
3 or 4 episodes.
Yeah, early mid-July, yeah.
So yeah, that game just it was kind of forgettable and they haven't released any new characters yet, so I'll probably wait until new characters come out to play it again and hope it gives me some energy, or that battle royale mode comes out, which they never put a release date on. But for me, just recovery from Vegas last week. Sarah was like full blown sick. I was like half sick during like most of last week. I don't think anyone noticed it on the recording, just because I took a shot of Dayquil before recording last week, so I don't think anyone noticed.
He's a little OCD on cutting out some of his stuff too. So
yeah, and for the most part, didn't get a chance to play anything. I still have 2 games that I need to review. I'll end up reviewing them next week. I just didn't get enough time to put into them. So 2 indie games will be reviewed next week. And Dave, I don't know if it's because I wasn't feeling well, but at a certain point, I fell down a rabbit hole where I was on YouTube and it recommended a Fallout lore video. So I clicked the Fallout lore video. It was an hour long. I watched it and I was like, you know what? I used to like the Fallout games. So then I turned on my Xbox Series X and was like, I own Fallout 3 and all the DLC. So I hopped into Fallout 3.
Let's say, isn't that stuff on Game Pass anyways?
It's on Game Pass, but I already owned it in my library. From back in the day. I was missing one DLC, but Game Pass gives you a discount on the DLC when a game's in Game Pass. So I ended up just getting the additional DLC I was missing. And now I'm playing Fallout 3.
How's it hold up?
That's a good question, Dave. It holds up enough. Definitely, you, like, with hindsight, you realize that, like, Bethesda's writing for some of the games is too, I don't know. I don't want to say it's bad, but it definitely has moments to where some of these quests that I thought like had really hard decisions, they don't really hold up in terms of like, oh, there isn't much nuance here. And most of the
your play style has evolved over the years too, man. Like the games have evolved and your thought process has evolved. What was cool then or innovative then is archaic now.
And then that's what I'm noticing with some of the storylines. It's like I've done some storylines where like, oh, I used to love this storyline, and then I'm going through the dialogue options and I'm like, really? This is it? There wasn't anything else with the story? It gets resolved in 2 dialogue lines. So there's a lot of different things that like I look back on now and I'm just like, okay, this is still a game that I love. I always love Fallout 3, but it's definitely doesn't hold up as well as I would have wished it did. But I'm still going to probably play it to completion, but we're talking about like a really long game. And I do appreciate, though, after years away from it, and also this is a game that I think this is going to be my 4th time playing it. First time in 10 years, though. I at least know enough about how to min-max, my play style, and I'm not making as many mistakes as I made originally because there's so many things that I've learned from Bethesda games, and then also just like I fell down the YouTube rabbit hole, so like seeing other people's strategies on how to like really maximize your time.
And I also feel like the UI's got to be a little easier to navigate because UIs are cumbersome right now. Certain UIs are cumbersome, and that's a 10-year-old UI.
Yeah, it definitely there are some features that I miss, but also it's I still remember playing New Vegas, I still remember playing Fallout 4, I still remember playing Fallout 76. So there have been improvements that when I went to Fallout 3, I was like, oh, they didn't fix this until 76, or they didn't fix this until 4. So I'm missing some features, but there is some sort of like simplicity that I appreciate with the, Fallout 3, the original game. So there's definitely some things that like are a surprise to me that I'm still enjoying. But awesome, going through that, we'll see how far I get. I do want to finish it, and I do kind of want to start New Vegas. This might be the year where I go through all the Fallout games again. But we'll see if I get burnt out after New Vegas, because I think I've said it many times before. Like I reviewed Fallout 4 pretty favorably when it came out, but Fallout 4 is a game that I have no recollection of any of this stuff. Like none of it stuck with me. Like it was good at the time in the moment, but I can tell you almost every quest in Fallout 3 and New Vegas, but if you ask me, like, what's your favorite quest in Fallout 4, I don't have an answer for you. Like, I remember enjoying it at the time, but none of it stuck with me. So,
do you think that any of this is like you have a Starfield itch?
I think so. Okay. I think I'm either trying to convince myself
Starfield itch is the bad thing, but you have a Bethesda itch.
Yeah, and it's basically like, hey, do I want to prepare do I need to remind myself of the good of Bethesda or the bad of Bethesda before getting into Starfield? And right now, it kind of gives me that, like, I kind of want to play Starfield more, but then anytime I get the bad Bethesda writing, which hasn't really improved that much, I'm like, maybe I won't get into Starfield. But we'll see how things shake out. I have, about
a month? Yeah.
Month before that comes out, so we'll see. But yeah, that's literally, I didn't get a chance to watch Twisted Metal. That's on my list for
I finished that.
Week.
I did finish that. I'm sorry.
You did finish that, and you enjoyed it for the most part?
Yeah, I liked it. So
okay, yeah, we'll go in depth on that. I'll probably marathon it sometime this week, just because I just want to.
I would say that it's an enjoyable watch. You can totally get it done if you want to do a trial of Peacock. You can get it done in that 7-day trial or 15-day trial, whatever they offer. And you do not have to have a recollection or understanding of the game at all.
Oh yeah. And even then, even if you had that understanding, I don't think anyone would care. You know, like I don't think you're having Twisted Metal lore in your head probably won't help you with the show.
At this point in time, I'm a little. It's been out for 3 weeks? Or no?
Yeah, it came out when I was in Vegas. 2 weeks.
2 weeks, and there just really hasn't been any chatter around what it's doing or not doing, at least that I've seen. In terms of success or unsuccess, or there's obviously there's a cliffhanger in there, so I would really be curious if they haven't greenlit a season 2 or anything yet. I haven't seen anything, positive, negative, middle ground, anything about it at all. It's out there. They're marketing it pretty well. I think that I've seen a couple different things for it, but I don't know if they're just waiting for football season to really kind of see what it does, because I'm sure it'll get a good push there. But it's worth the watch, 100%.
Yeah, and the reviews have been, pretty solid. So maybe it has a chance. Though Peacock, Comcast, I think, said their streaming numbers are way down this year. So who knows if this will help them at all. But the Mario movie should have hit Peacock.
It's on. Yep, August 3rd it hit it. Yep. And it wasn't we tried to have Owen watch it the day it came out, and it wasn't working. So I don't know if that's just Peacock traffic or if that but
this would be great for, I know it's a PG theme, and then they can't really advertise Twisted Metal. But it could be one of those. Don't use it as
an alternative if it's Super Mario Brothers doesn't work to watch Twisted Metal with your kid. Don't do that.
But I'm just saying, someone in our age range, if they watch the Super Mario movie and then afterwards Twisted Metal's plastered on the front screen, they might be like, oh, I remember that from my childhood, and then you might watch it.
For sure.
So maybe we won't hear about Twisted Metal numbers until a week or two of the Mario movie being on Peacock.
Yeah.
But that is pretty much it for me, Dave.
All right.
We don't have any questions, but I'll hit you with this, Dave.
Okay.
Matt asks, 12 days left in Destiny 2's Battle Pass. Have you finished it?
No.
No.
I just looked on my app. I'm ranked 30 out of 100. So.
Yeah, you just what Dave? Since we don't have any questions, State of Destiny, because I heard a lot of people were very pissed about it a week ago.
So Joe Blackburn, the director of Destiny, released a State of the Game thing. It was 6,000 words. And I think he might have got a little bit too transparent in it. I don't want to go down a huge rabbit hole, but there are 3 kind of core components to Destiny. It has the PvE aspect, the PvP aspect, and the Gambit aspect. So Gambit is the PvE versus P thing that came out with Forsaken. PvP is Crucible. And I personal opinion, free to play is handcuffing this game. And they pretty much admitted they do not have a dedicated PvP team, and they do not have a dedicated Gambit team. And the non-dedicated PvP team is fascinating to me, but at the same time, from a free-to-play aspect, they kind of came out and said it's hard to invest in content that doesn't look like it's being played, but at the same time, they want people to play it, but they're not investing in it. So it's a double-edged sword. And it was kind of 6,000 words of hey, we don't have enough people. And my understanding is Bungie Studios doing nothing but growing. And it sounds like the growing is for Marathon and whatever this other IP is, not for Destiny 2.
Yeah.
But it also, he also made it sound like Destiny 2 is not done, and it's not done for another 3 or 4 years.
That's what he has to say.
I don't know. I mean, there's a big showcase coming out August 22nd, the day the season ends. They've teased a huge character coming back, Cade, that was voiced by Nathan Fillion. It's been confirmed that Nathan Fillion is voicing him again, and he had left during the Forsaken era when they killed the character off. So there is definitely something interesting going on there with how they're going to bring him back. And I have full confidence that I feel Final Shape, the next expansion coming in February, will be very good, because their expansions are very good. I just don't know if I'm going to have enough desire or care over the next 6 months to get to Final Shape at this point in time. Now, I say that, and I've played Destiny for 8 years, so I'm not disappointed in my time or anything like that. But
you got your dollar amount for the 60 you put down.
I still love the game. The mechanics of the game are great. There is an older raid coming out next season. It's led to believe it's a Destiny 1 raid that will probably spark my interest enough. But the seasonal grind that they've added to this game, of where you're kind of doing the seasonal activity, earning reputation, getting stuff from the seasonal vendor, and that part is it has not gotten any kind of facelift over the last 2.5 years, and it needs something. It's just I don't know how to fix it. I mean, there's inherently, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with it, but it's just not drawing the attention of where it's worth playing every week. I don't know if that's them stretching out seasonal content, if it's them, I don't know. and they're saying that people aren't interacting with certain things they're putting in the game, and they're not interacting with armor sets that they're adding to the game, and they're saying armor sets are hard to add, but at the same time, the armor sets they add when you go and do the activity that you get them from, the statistics on them are awful. So it's almost like they've got to figure out this balance, but at the same time, they can't just give out high stat stuff from everywhere. Like, so I don't know their answer. And the reason why I say free to play is hurting it is because they're designing a lot of these seasonal events and these events that they want you to interact with their store to make money, and they also want you to interact seasonally and every week with the game, and there's just doesn't seem like there's enough right now. So I don't know. So
like I realize the Destiny community seems always pissed off and like disappointed, but like it seemed last week like it was a new height for disappointment, which is why I wanted to hear your state of Destiny, because like I haven't seen that sort of like, it wasn't even like vitriol, like hatred, it was just like disappointment. Well,
because I think Joe Blackburn said stuff that hurt the players' base's feelings.
Yeah.
But I think he kind of just gave him that little dose of reality of like, hey, this is what's going on. Like, you're not playing Gambit. We're not investing in Gambit anymore. And people are like, yeah, but he's like, but you're not playing it. It's the same thing that happened years ago when they vaulted stuff and put stuff away that people got so mad about. And he came out and said, look, he's like, we're putting this stuff away because you're not interacting with it. He's like, oh no, we interact with it. And he actually pulled something up on a screen and showed somebody on Twitter, bro, 2.1% of the players go here. It's not worth our time.
Yeah, and I think that's what happens when like, I mean, the Destiny communities, I know we disagree with this. Yeah. It's not growing.
No, it's not.
You know, and when that happens, the people that are going to be vocal are going to be like an even smaller minority than before, and then that's what you end up answering to, and it just kind of leads to these feelings of just like, the people that are vocal right now are an even smaller part of a community that is shrinking.
Yep.
So it's difficult for a Bungie or any developer in this position to like, they can't placate, you know, they can't like do what this the community wants.
It'll be very interesting. I've said this about Game Pass. I've said this about a whole bunch of other things that yes, the community is not, the player base is not growing, but for a long time, the player base was consistent. Now, yes, when the player base becomes inconsistent, which I believe it has become over the last couple of weeks, that is where you start seeing them try to move the needle. Like if they're continuing to hit a concurrent number and they're happy with it and they don't work for Square Enix, you know, like they'll be like, okay, hey, we're anywhere from, I don't even know, I'm going to just use basic round numbers. We're anywhere from 300,000 to 500,000 players every day, every week. We're good. Oh shit, it's fallen below 300,000 the last 2 or 3 weeks in a row. Okay, what are we going to do? You know, like that's where it gets interesting, and they need to do something over the next 6 months to then jolt the player base into final shape, which comes out in February. Like I said, now they are masters of playing this pattern. They've done this for 8 years of like this disappointment sandwich where they take 2 pieces of disappointment bread, but the middle part is the meat of the sandwich is amazing. And they have a huge, there's a part of me that wonders, did they just get all the bull crap out of the way on this state of the game thing so that this stream that they do, or this reveal that they do on the 22nd, because it can't just be about final shape. It has to be enough to get players to invest the next, because it's final, the showcase on the 22nd will be almost like 6 months to the day from when the game comes out.
It's a long time for a live service game.
2 more seasons. So they do their seasons in 3-month chunks. And whatever they reveal to get players to pre-order Final Shape then has to, like, it's really weird because they're essentially telling you what's going to happen over the next 6 months in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'm gonna watch this showcase, you know, and hope that it's something cool. But
God, if it's not,
yeah, it's gonna be.
You're gonna
rough.
get people to come out of the dark that haven't been playing, and you're gonna get them pissed off too.
Yep. The people that play the expansion and play like 2 weeks after the expansion and then fade away. If this expansion is bad or the reveal of the expansion is bad, like I don't know what kind of damage control they're going to do for the 6 months. And what's super interesting right now is that this is the first. Yeah, I think this is the first like time that they're talking as like an expansion content underneath the Sony pavilion of
Yeah.
you know they get to do their own thing and make their own decisions, but Sony's hand is hovering above them. You know,
Well, and Sony, as far as we know, is like, hey, do what you guys do best. But at a certain point, Sony might like hesitate a little bit if they see things going south.
right?
And not doing anything bad to Bungie, but telling Bungie like, yo, do you want to give Destiny to one of our auxiliary studios, and you guys can just like fucking clear out? Like, that could be on the table.
I mean, but there's a part of me that's curious. Like, are they getting too thinned out though? Like, they're working on Destiny 2. They're working on Marathon. They're working on another the NetEase IP, whatever it is, if it's a mobile game or whatever the hell it is. And realistically, I mean, if we believe rumors to be true, there's probably some of their high end people are helping Naughty Dog right now. Like, like that's taking some of their time. They're looking at Naughty Dogs. They're looking at Sometimes Always Monsters. They're looking at Haven.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they're touching all of these. Somebody is on a Zoom or a Teams call with all of these live service games from Bungie.
While juggling Marathon.
Yeah.
Which is coming out next year, I believe. So
it's not going to make it next year, but Bungie games
if
never make it.
If it's just a multiplayer game, there's a good chance it could come out next year. And I believe it's just a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
So.
But like Matt writes the same thing that I've been saying in chat. Like, this has been the Destiny thing though, right? Yes. Like, players getting upset about this, like, I'm like, what world have you been watching for the last 7 years? Like,
I know, but like I said earlier, from an outsider perspective, usually it's just been pure anger. Last week it was just like mostly just disappointment, which I feel like is different tone than I've seen.
Yeah,
as an outsider,
right? August 22nd is D-Day. Like, if they could do something where I promise you, like, if they do it, if they do a good job, a good to a great job on August 22nd, I'll get a Twitter message, a Discord message, or a Facebook message from somebody that goes, "Hey, I need your help. I want to get back into Destiny." If that if that doesn't happen with at least one person on the 22nd, I feel like they failed.
Okay, hear me out. Presentation opens with Jim Ryan saying something about how he loves Bungie and everything that they do. That sets the tone.
We'll put Luke Smith and Jim Ryan in a chair together to reveal the final shape.
Yes. Jim Ryan just to be like, we are committed to Bungie and Destiny. And then, press release later being like, no, we're not.
Yeah. So.
We don't like old games. We don't like retro games like Destiny.
Matt's like, you better mention a sandwich.
Hey, there will be a indie gamer sandwich segment next week, I promise.
Yeah, it's hard, man. Sandwiches are expensive now. The other day I went somewhere, man, and I was like $16. I was like, what is this?
Oh god, yeah, I saw my coworker.
Jimmy John's, Jersey Mike, Penn Station, Subway, all of them are like double-digit prices now. Like,
I bought a Potbelly sandwich today for like $9.95 or something. It was pretty good though. It's pretty good. I don't know if these indie games can match that sandwich.
All right, you got anything else?
No, that's all I got.
All right, so that's our show for this week. You can follow us on social medias. Twitter is @DigitalDaysPod. Michael's is @TheFirstMJC. Myself is @GoodDaveHunt. Facebook group, Discord server are linked in the show notes. Patreon is there. We will be doing probably something twisted metal oriented for a Patreon episode. So please consider checking that out. And other than that, I hope everyone has a great week. Keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya.